channel, and welcome to August book wrap up. So it is September. Can you believe it? We are in my favorite part of the year, which is that fall winter season, even though officially it is the official end of summer because it is Labor Day. So, that's when we pretty much say summer is over. But we know fall doesn't officially start until, what, is it the 22nd, 23rd? But over here, we don't care. It's fall. It is fall. It's actually been fall since August 1st in my mind. But we'll at least make it the official end of summer and the beginning of fall season. So I'm super excited. So this is your August wrap up. And guess what, guys? Your girl made it to the double digits. I did. I finished 10 books this month. And I am super happy about that. So yes, I made a goal that I've been working on. So now I just have to keep it up, right? So in September, we're going to try to get 11 books. We're going to try to maintain the 10, but get an extra one in there too. And we had some good ones. We did have a dud. We had a really, really big dud that kind of started out the month, but it's okay because the other books actually got really, really good. Highly recommend most of them. So let's get started. The first book is The 48 Clues into the Disappearance of My Sister by Joyce Carol Dates. I don't know why this book was so... First of all, I know why the book was so bad, because it was confusing as heck. Apparently, it's supposed to be like a puzzle, because when I read... for those of you who don't know, I don't read reviews before I read a book. I only really look at the reviews if my thoughts on the book are completely different from like the number. So if I think a book was amazing, but like the number was low, I'm going to be like, wait, what were y'all reading? And if the numbers are high and I thought it sucked, I'm going to be like, wait a second, what were you reading? Or if I'm just utterly confused and I need to see if someone can tell me what the heck the book was about, I'll read the review. So like with this one, apparently this is like her style of writing. I was pissed. First of all, the book actually takes place, or at least the beginning of the book takes place in like the 90s. However, the way the person speaks, I was like, are we in the United States and is it the 1800s? Because the way they spoke during the book really made it seem like they were in a completely different era, and that confused the heck out of me. Also made this book hard to read. The crazy thing is every single chapter is supposed to be a clue. So there's 48 chapters, 48 clues. I don't know who killed the sister. I don't know if the sister was actually killed. Let's start there. I don't know if the sister just disappeared. And like if somebody took her. Or like she got lost and died. Or just got lost and like showed up somewhere else. Like knocked her head. Like I truly don't know what the hell happened in this book. It was so bad. So this is just a dud. I would not recommend reading it. But the back of it says, what has become of Marguerite Fulmer? On an otherwise average day in upstate New York, the young woman left her family home, never to return. No note was left, no explanation. Just a messy bedroom and her sister Gigi driven to dig through the meager clues and discover the truth behind her disappearance. As the investigation unfolds, every subtle bit of evidence becomes a potential clue. The silk Dior slip dress left in a heap on the floor, the impression of Ferragamo boots outside in the dirt, a trail of footsteps that abruptly ends before it leaves the yard, and as Gigi trails the detective, she finds previously unknown troubles in the life of her perfect, gorgeous, much-loved sister. Troubles that at times seem to reflect her own. Bit by bit, like ripping the petals off a flower blossom, a truth is revealed and subtly, but with the unbearable suspense at which Joyce Carol Oates excels, clues mount and bring to light the fate of the missing beauty. I don't really know if it gave me the fate of her, but I know somebody in this book is a killer, because at least that part you pick up on, that somebody is killing somebody, even though it's not completely obvious. And I think the sister is batshit crazy. But yeah, this did not do it for me. That's a hard no. This one though, Good Girls Don't Die by Christina Henry. I bought this book because I was talking to somebody. I actually got this from the bookstore in Greensboro. So I bought this earlier in the year. Finally got to it. This book is giving you final girl, horror movie, realness, that type of vibe. But I will say, so this book is written by 3 different women, and eventually they all kind of get together in the end. I did enjoy the first person story the best. I think the second story was pretty good, and the third story was cool, but at that point, I felt like if they had stuck to 2 stories, it would have been better. So it's almost like it wore thin by the third one. It wasn't bad because I liked the twist that came in the third one, because I didn't see that stuff coming. I was like, oh snap, I would not have thought that was going to happen in story 3. And then at the end, I just wish he gave more time to the very end of the story when they all met together. And I think that would have made the book even better. But I like this one. I highly recommend it. It is an easy read. And it has, you know, internet chatter in there. So it was a really good book all around. So it says, Cecilia wakes up in a house she doesn't recognize. There's a little girl who claims to be her daughter and a man who claims to be her husband. But Celia knows this family and this life is not hers. Allie is supposed to be on a fun weekend getaway, and then her friend's boyfriend unexpectedly drives the group to a remote cabin in the woods. No one else believes Allie, but she is sure that something about this trip is very, very wrong. Maggie, who just wants to be home with her daughter, is a dangerous situation. Oh wait. Maggie, who just wants to be home with her daughter, is in a dangerous situation and doesn't know who put her there or why. She'll have to fight with everything she has to survive. 3 women, 3 stories, only one way out. This captivating novel will keep readers guessing until the very end. So I did like how their stories collided. I do, like I said, I appreciate 1 and 2 the best. And I wish there was more of a wrap up, but I did like the twist in story 3. And like I said, when they bring, like when all the stories kind of clash, I enjoyed that. So this one is definitely a good read. The next one I read was The Last House Guest, and this is by Megan Miranda. This one says, don't overstay your welcome, Little Port, Maine. And I had just visited Portland when I started reading this. Has always felt like 2 separate towns, an ideal vacation enclave for the wealthy whose summer homes line the coast, and a simple harbor community for the year-round residents whose livelihoods rely on service to others. Typically, fierce friendships never develop between a local and a summer girl, but that's just what happens with visitor Sadie Lumen and Little Port resident Avery Greer. The girls are inseparable until Sadie is found dead. While the police rule the death a suicide, Avery can't help but feel there are those in the community, including members of Sadie's family, who blame her. Someone knows more than they're saying, and Avery is intent on clearing her name before the facts get twisted against her. Another thrilling novel from the best-selling author of All the Missing Girls, The Perfect Stranger, Megan Miranda's The Last House Guest is a smart, twisty read with a strong female protagonist determined to make her own way in the world. Now, this one I enjoyed. This gives heavy Lifetime vibes. So definitely gives me the Lifetime vibes, especially when you figure out like the twist and everything that's going on. It is told in past and present, so I do like that. It was pretty easy to get through because the chapters are fairly short, and I like a book where the chapters don't drag. But yeah, it gives me Lifetime vibes because when we got to like the end and the connection and like why all this stuff was happening, I was just like, okay, so I definitely highly recommend. It was a solid read. It wasn't the greatest book I'd ever read, like out of this stack or even in general, but it was a solid read and I recommend. The next one, I finally read The Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeny, where everybody and their mama has been talking about this book, and I finally read it. I enjoyed the book. Like, I definitely did not see the twist coming. So that was very interesting because, and this book reminds me of The Wife Between Us. So if you've read The Wife Between Us by, it's Sarah Picketon and somebody else. Greer is her name? Somebody Greer and Sarah Picketon. Like that combo author. So the book is called The Wife Between Us. So you can at least look that up. But I like this book and it does give those vibes because as you're reading through the book, It does. I'm not gonna. I don't want to say too much because then it'll give away what's going on. But if you read that book, you kind of are probably like, "Ooh, I already know." It gave those vibes. It did have some moments where I was just like confused, but like I said, it's because you have to wait until you get the aha moment where you pick up on what's happening. But I did enjoy it. I don't think it was like scary or super thrilling, but it was a good, like, I guess it will be, I guess, suspenseful. Like, I would say it was more suspenseful instead of like, oh my gosh, it's so thrilling and I'm on the edge of my seat kind of thing. So think you know the person you married, think again. Things have been wrong with Mr. and Ms. Wright for a long time. Every anniversary, the couple exchange traditional gifts, and Adam's wife writes him a letter she never lets him read until now. Self-confessed workaholic Adam Wright has face blindness. He can't even recognize his own wife, and Amelia is sick of feeling unseen. When Adam and Amelia went a weekend away to Scotland, it might be just what their marriage needs. This weekend may make or break their marriage, but they didn't randomly win this trip. One of them is lying, and someone doesn't want them to live happily ever after. 10 years of marriage, 10 years of secrets, and an anniversary they will never forget. Now, I will say, at one point I was like, I feel like that came out of... Well, there was something mentioned in the beginning that I was always trying to figure out, and then they told me what the thing was, and at first I was like, did that come out of left field? But then I would remember what I read in the beginning, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. But I was still like, well, how wouldn't you know? Like, I feel like he would just know this thing. But, well, anyway, it was cool. I did enjoy the books. I don't feel like it was... I feel like as far as, like, is it probably worth being, like, so hyped up? No. But, like, if I had found it and hadn't heard a lot about it and read it, I would think it was good. So I did think it was solid. But I think it was more suspenseful. How all of it, like, happened and came together. Good Half Gone by Tarryn Fisher. Now, I be trying to like Tarryn, right? I do. I'm flipping through the pages because part of my... Oh, okay. I liked this book until it got, like, to the end. Because I was like, there's no freaking way that would ever happen. And I get it. So, thrillers, it's like you watch Friday the 13th. You know there's no way Jason is going to keep coming back. It ain't no way. Like, it just doesn't happen, right? So, I get that in horrors and thrillers and mysteries, things that really can't happen, but this was a logical thing that they were trying to make you believe actually happened so that this whole book could come together. And ain't no way in hell what occurred here would actually be able to happen to make the book come together. And I think that's where the book lost me. And her other book that I read that I was like, I preferred the past part of the book versus the future, because it seemed like the future part, like the current part, the present part, was just so freaking out of left field. And I feel like this was so freaking out of left field. I was into the freaking book until it got to that part, and I was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way this would happen. But anyway, the book is called Good Half Gone. Iris Walsh saw her twin sister Piper get kidnapped, so why does no one believe her? Iris narrowly escaped her pretty, popular twin sister's fate as a teen, kidnapped, trafficked, and long gone before the cops agreed to investigate. With no evidence to go on but a few scattered memories, the case quickly went cold, and it's narrowly escaped. That's what I was trying to say. Now an adult, Iris wants one thing, proof. And if the police don't want help, she'll just have to find it on her own by interning at the isolated Shoal Island Hospital for the criminally insane, where secrets lurk in the shadows and are kept under lock and key. But Iris soon realizes that something even more sinister is simmering beneath the surface of the shoal, and that the patients aren't the only ones being observed. So it just tried too hard to make something a thing. And I was like, no. So part of the book I enjoyed. When it got to the end, where stuff started happening, I was like, ain't no way this is going to happen. Once again, Tarryn, you tried it. So even reading this one, I was like, it was good until it shit started hitting the fan, and then I was like, baby girl, there's no logical way, because it wasn't even like a super like a Jason coming back from the dead kind of thing. It was literally, you were supposed to believe that this thing logically could have happened and no one would have known, and it couldn't. Like, I just don't believe it. So I don't know. I just thought it was too far-fetched. Like, I feel like she could have done better. All right, the next one is called The Quiet Tenant. It's by Clemence, Michallon, and this one was good. But y'all know how those main characters be pissing me off, because I be like, y'all be doing things that y'all know gonna get yourself, like, caught, right? But this one was actually really good. And I was very interested to know how this was going to play out when you read the back. I was like, wait a second, how is that going to work? And then I was mad at the other girl, because I was just like, don't disappoint me. Like, don't do something stupid. But I will say, overall, I enjoyed this book. I think it is definitely something to read. And I was happy about it. Very short chapters, so you know I like that. It isn't past and present. Everything, well, there is some past talk, but most of it does occur in the present. So, dark and juicy is what they say. So, Aiden Thomas, a recent widower raising his 13-year-old daughter, Cecilia, is a beloved figure in his small upstate. Let me tell you, I've been reading books, and when they take place in New York, upstate New York, I know shit is going to hit the fan. Because there is something about that section of the state where things just always seem to be crazy. The kind of neighbor who always lends a hand and has a good word for everyone. Aiden also has a dark secret. He's a kidnapper and a serial killer. He's murdered 8 women, and there's a 9th marked for death. Wow, it just started raining. Rachel in prison for 5 years in a backyard shed. Okay, that's the 9th person marked for death, right? When he and Cecilia have to move, Aiden has no choice but to bring Rachel along, introducing her to Cecilia as a family friend who needs a place to stay. Aiden is betting that Rachel will be too brainwashed and fearful to attempt an escape. But Rachel is a fighter, and she sees in Cecilia the lifeline she's waited for all these years. And in Emily, the local restaurant owner, newly interested in Aiden, either an ally or his next victim. Both a searing thriller and an astute study of trauma, survival, and the dynamics of power, The Quiet Tenant is an electrifying debut thriller by a major talent. I was like, there's one point in this book, I was like, girl, are you crazy? Girl, or what? But, like, it does keep you wanting to read. Like I said, I really did enjoy this one. I liked the way it played out. Even though I had to yell at my leading lady a couple times because she had me, but she knew better. She knew better than I did. Maybe. But definitely enjoyed this one. Okay, we have 4 more to go. I know it's a big book month, so let me pull the next one. And this is called Don't Go Down There. Now, I really did like this one. Okay, I got to change legs. My legs start to fall asleep. This one is by Kiersten Modglin. This one you can literally read in like a day. The words are pretty big on the pages. I like this book. It is told between the perspective. Is it 2 perspectives? Yes, it is. It is told between the perspective of Andy and the perspective of Spencer. And I like this book. I absolutely did not see the twist coming. Because the book twisted and then twisted again. And then twisted again. Now, I will say it made me want to... It's one of those tropes that I do not enjoy. Putting that out there. Because I'm just like, hard pass. But the book was really good. I think the author really did a good job of keeping you, engaged, and then keeping you guessing about the people involved, because it does make you question both people. I'm not gonna lie. I was questioning Andy. I'm like, seriously, Andy? This is what you do? And I'm gonna really say it like this. Andy like this much redeemed herself. Because, like, you're really sitting here like, like the lengths people will go through for other people, and I'm like, it's not worth it, because did you miss the beginning part that just happened? And then the conversation that goes on really flips you, because it makes you believe what is coming out of these people's mouths. And then it's like, but like, do you really think this is okay? Like, you believe, you want to, I don't know if I'm articulating this right. You want to believe that they're like, it makes you think that these people are really saying the things that they're saying because they want to fix a certain situation. But even in them trying to fix a certain situation, you're like, but this ain't the way to fix it. And then it's like, well, boo-boo, do you really believe what this other person is saying? And then do you really think it's okay what you're thinking just because you want to preserve or save? I don't know. The book was good and it's short. It's less than 200 pages. I highly recommend. I do want to get more books by her. I don't know if all of her books is this small. I don't know if I articulated that right, but read it, because it is going to keep you guessing and it is going to keep you on the edge of your seat. And once you get to the end, you're going to be like, I ain't see that coming. I didn't. 3 times. You're going to say that 3 times before this book is finished. Spencer Edwards has a beautiful wife, 2 perfect children, and a sinister secret locked in his basement. When Andy Edwards discovers her husband isn't where he's supposed to be and isn't answering her calls or texts, a flurry of scenarios races through her mind. Is he hurt? Is he cheating? Is he dead? The truth she soon finds out is so much worse than she could have imagined. As she struggles to make sense of her new and chilling reality, she must decide whether to stand by the man she loves and help protect him or walk away and let him pay for his sins. With time running out, the secret in the basement becomes more dangerous, and the spine-chilling truth becomes clear. If she makes the wrong decision, she stands to lose much more than her marriage. When their best-laid plans come back to haunt them, what will Spencer and Andy be willing to sacrifice to survive? That was that one. All right, the next one I read was The Other Ms. by Mary Kubica. Now, when I tell you, have I read one of her books before? I have, and I think the book is called The Nicest Couple, and I enjoyed that one. Like, I thought that one was cool. I do think this one is better than The Nicest Couple, but let me tell you, I was surprised. That's it. I did not see the ending of this book coming. I did not see the twist coming. I'm sitting here like reading the book and then trying to figure out, one, how your kids ain't shit. Because there was a point in this book where I was like, man, your kids ain't shit. But when you read the book and get to the end, you be like, oh, dang, it's not the kids' fault. Like, it wasn't their fault. This book was really good. So The Nicest Couple was cool. But if you want like one that is actually like really like what the hell is going on, this is the one to read. It's pretty, it feels pretty thick, but I think it's like, okay, so it's almost 400 pages. So it is a pretty thick book. I don't think her other book that I read was this size. I think I actually have another book by her, and I think that one is newer. And I only say that because it is in hardback, and I think it's a new release. Or it came out like within the last year or something. So I'm gonna go pick the book up now. All right. So this one here, but like I said, it's really good. I did not see the ending coming. I was just like, holy shit, you really do need to make sure you know the people you surround yourself with, because people crazy. So she tried to run, but she can't escape the other Mrs. Sadie and Will Faust have only just moved their family from bustling Chicago to small town Maine. When why every time I read a book that's in Maine, I'm like, oh, I want to visit that little town. But then they doing stuff like that, so I don't. Maine, when their neighbor Morgan Baines is found dead in her home. The murder rocks their tiny coastal island, but no one is more shaken than Sadie. As the eyes of suspicion turn toward the new family in town, Sadie is drawn into the mystery of Morgan's death. But Sadie must be careful, for the more she discovers about Miss Baines, the more she begins to realize just how much she has to lose if the truth ever comes to light. Highly, highly recommend this. I would probably say this is probably one of the best in the stack that I read, I really, really enjoyed this one. So highly recommend it, and you will definitely be surprised at the twist. All right. Then I read another one of Tarryn's books, The Wives. Sometimes she be twisting things up, and I'm just like, I will say this twist in this book was better than her twist in the other two. So the first book I read was cool, but I liked the past story that was occurring in that story better. I thought that was more suspenseful, thrilling, all the things. Because it's told about the person's past and then their present, and their past collides with their present, right? Now, when it comes to her book, Good Girl Gone, or Good Half Gone, I enjoyed everything up until the end, because I was like, okay, even though I think she was, let's go back to Good Half Gone. I think the girl was stupid because sometimes she was pushing too many buttons and she's about to give stuff away. And I'm like, girl, can you just stick to the plan? But anyway, when it got to the end, I was like, I just can't ever see this happening. Like, I just don't see how this could happen, right? And then I read this one. I don't know if I can really believe that this happened, because I'm just like, because, okay, now that I think about, like, on the parent side of things, they never knew any of this was, like, a thing. Like, to the level to where this book went, I'm like, how could you guys have not really known that it was this bad, right? And then, I ain't lied, it surprised me, but I was like, that was kind of deserved, because, like, you was a shitty person. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm good on Tarryn, because I feel like parts of the book, like, be real good, and then, like, you get to the end and you just be like, why you had to take 5 lefts and a right? Why you couldn't just take 2 lefts and a right? Like, it just seems to go so far out where it just becomes, like, unbelievable, and I have so many other questions about the book. So this one here, it says, imagine that your husband has 2 other wives. You've never met the other wives, none of you know each other, and because of this unconventional arrangement, you can see your husband only 1 day a week, but you love him so much you don't care, or at least that's what you've told yourself. But one day while you're doing laundry, you find a scrap of paper in his pocket, an appointment reminder for a woman named Hannah, and you just know it's another of the wives. You thought you were fine with your arrangement, but you can't help yourself. You track her down, and under false pretenses, you strike up a friendship. Hannah has no idea who you really are. Then Hannah starts showing up to your coffee dates and telltale bruises, and you realize she's being abused by her husband, who of course is also your husband. But you've never known him to be violent ever. Who exactly is your husband, and how far would you be willing to go to find out? And who is his mysterious third wife? And then the other part, I'm like, I can't say that part without giving it away, but it makes me think, because I'm like, but he was actually there, wasn't he? Like, I'm just confused. I'm good on Tarryn. I'm good on Tarryn Fisher. If anybody else reads her books and likes it, tell me why I should like the book. Like, I need you to convince me that the fact that she just be going so far out to wrap up her stories and to, like, bring in the thrill is okay. I need to be convinced, because I'm good on her. The book wasn't bad, but I won't waste my time. Let's just say that. Because, like, the end just be so far-fetched, and you're just like, huh? So, yeah. Now, the last book that I read is My Darling Dreadful Thing, and this is by Johanna Van Veen. I really felt like I needed to read this book because it was actually gifted to me by one of the booksellers. She was like, I think you'll like it. And it was one that they had gotten in an ARC. So she was like, hey, I think you might like this book. So I got it as like a little freebie. Okay, it's horror. And I like horror. I don't do a lot of horror where there's like a heavy spirit, like seance type thing, possession type thing. And that was in this book. But because she gave it to me for free, I felt like I needed to read it. And I did. And I will say, the book wasn't bad. The book just wasn't for me. I'll say that. Like, I mean, the story was cool. There were things in it that I just did not like. Made my skin crawl because I'm like, yuck, why do you have to be a despicable person? So there's some of that in there. There's definitely abuse in here. But I don't know. It just wasn't for me. Like, I don't think it was horrible, but it just was not a story for me. It is told, basically everything you're reading happened in the past because she's actually having conversation. Does it say that on the back? Okay, it doesn't say that, so I'm not going to say that part. But it is told about the past. So the story is being told about what happened, and then it brings you into today. So when I was reading it, I was like, okay, I don't really like this book itself. But the book is actually not bad. It's just not my type of read. So I'll say that. So if the dead can wake and walk among us, how can we know what is truly real? Ruse Beckman has a spirit companion only she can see. Ruth, strange, corpse-like, and dead for centuries, is the light of Ruth's life. That is until the wealthy young widow Agnes Newt visits one of Ruth's backroom seances, and the two strike up a connection. Soon Ruth is whisked away to the crumbling estate Agnes inherited upon the death of her husband, where an ill woman haunts the halls. Strange smells drift through the air at night, and mysterious stone statues reside in the family chapel. Something dreadful festers in the manor, but still the attraction between Ruth and Agnes is undeniable. Then someone is murdered. Poor, alone, and with a history of hysterics, Ruth is the obvious culprit. But their sanity and innocence in question, she'll have to prove who or what is at fault or lose everything she holds dear. So yeah, that's this book. Like I said, I didn't think it was bad. It just wasn't for me. The story was actually probably pretty good, and I feel like if this was your thing, you might think it was great. But for me, it was a good book. Like, it was solid. It was cool. It's not really. It's more, I guess, haunting. Like, because you're trying to figure out, like, what's going on with these spirits and who's actually committing this murder that happened, or is it just this person being hysterical? You don't know. But yeah, that was my 10th read of the month. Y'all, we made it to 10 books, and we're going to try to keep it going. Like I said, for the most part, this was a really good stack of reads. There were just some in here where I was just like, I don't know. Some I thought was far-fetched, but at least half of the book, or 2/3 of the book, was great. But yeah, this is my stack for the month. A good reading month, because I had ones that I really, really enjoyed. I had ones that made me go, what the hell? And I had ones that made me decide, this author isn't for me. And sometimes you have to get through a few. I try not to, unless the book is just really, really bad. I try not to be like, I'm not going to read that person anymore. But like, I gave good old Tarryn 2 book tries this month, and I know she's not an author for me. So this was a really good book month. I got good books. I got some duds. I discovered some things about authors that aren't for me. And that's what this is all about, right? Finding what you like to read. So this is my stack. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. My name is Sarah. For those of you who are new, thanks for stopping by. Join the family so you always see all the videos. And then for those of you who keep returning, I really, really appreciate you. And I'll see you in the next one.